All right, what's happening, TikTok? I hope you guys are doing well, man. It is so good to see you guys. Hold on a second. We've got one more coming on. We got one more platform. Yes, I have pushed the buttons. Hold on. I've got one more button to push. Welcome to the call, everybody. Just a second. Hold on. Wait for it.
This call is being recorded.
That's right. You heard her. Go ahead, Natasha.
Hi, how is everybody doing this evening? What is today? The first already? December?
It's the first, the second. No, it's the second. No, it's the second.
Whoops.
Your rent's late.
Oh, today's it's already going by so fast. As always, I'm glad that everybody's here. It's nice to see you. My pleasure to be here. Tonight, we're actually going to be talking about UCC and trust. I want to actually talk a little bit about Brandon Joe Williams and their broadcasts and stuff. And as always, this call is not meant to hurt anybody's feelings, no legal advice or anything like that.
That's right.
So we just ask that you ask questions as they come about, and we'll try to answer them the best of our ability.
That's right. And
how are you today, Tim?
Thank you, man. It's so good to have you here, and I'm really just glad you're here. I've been praying for you today, so just glad that you made it. We had a really great Bible study last night. I want to thank everybody that was there last night. Holy cow. Lots of people showed up. It was great. I want to thank everybody that's showing up here on TikTok. Holy cow, the place is filling up like crazy. We're going to be talking a little bit about, we're going to be talking about a lot of things. We're going to be talking about vehicle, okay? A lot of you guys might have heard of Brandon Joe Williams, you know, and this guy is telling everybody, you know, he's the free car revolution guy, right, Natasha? He's the guy that's always saying, oh, there's a free car, and you can sign off over here, and it's a free car, blah, blah, blah. And, you know, we've been kind of watching it, been raising our eyebrows, shaking our heads, but we've been watching, not really casting any judgment yet, because we really don't know. And even at this point, even though I do know, I'm still not casting any judgment. And the reason why is because, you know, the word says to answer a fool according to his folly. Yeah. And don't try to correct a fool, because if you do, he'll hate you for it. That's where I stand tonight. And that's where I'm at on this deal. I mean, you know, that's fair. But anyway, so we heard recently, Natasha, about this thing. Brandon Joe Williams is going to go on with the state nationals, and they're going to do their 3-hour podcast or whatever. Because apparently, I think I don't know if all their channels on YouTube are down, but I know that they've lost quite a few channels on YouTube. They're gone. But I thought this was very interesting, because one of the things that I did find out after this 3-hour, don't watch it. It's just not worth it. But anyway, it was 3 hours long. It was just, and it was so bad, I had somebody else watch it so they could tell me. But anyway, so, I mean, because I just couldn't. But here's what I do understand happened. Number one, state nationals are no longer rocking in the United States. That's right. They are out of the United States. And, you know, Natasha, I was telling you that like a while back, that, you know, for $29.95 you can do a background check on anybody. So our boy Kenny Plaster, I decided, you know, let's not get him confused with that guy from South Park. So let's just run him up and let's see if they really are different people. Well, you know what? They actually were different people. They're completely different people. Man, I was so wrong. Anyway, and but what I did find out is that he was on a government watch list. Ooh, that's bad. So that do not detain list that he's telling you to get on is not the do not detain list you want to get on. Natasha, I promise that's not the one. It's no. Definitely not. And then the other thing, let's see. Oh, and like I said, he's living in Mexico. Oh, and like I said, he's living in New Mexico. That's going on. And then another thing I saw in his background too is that he had one of those PPP loans, and it went bad. Whatever that means. It was collections. That's all I really know. It just says that he hasn't paid it. So I know that, like, the other day, like a few days ago, 17 sheriffs in Oklahoma, I think, Oklahoma or Kentucky, somewhere up there. 17 of them got arrested. No, I think it was in Boston. They got arrested by the Department of Justice for fraud, for jicking those little applications. And the only reason that they would ask you to pay one of those PPP loans back is if you did something fraudulent, if you did something you weren't supposed to do. You're funny. All praises to the Most High Santa Claus. You better quit smoking that stuff, because then you'll be a little bit lower and you'll be able to see that Santa Claus is not who you think he is. Anyway, tis is not the season. Not on this channel, man. Sorry, dude. Anyway, this is for entertainment purposes only. It's not for you guys to get your feelings hurt. Tell Karen to stay on her coffee break. This is not her call. It's up. Anyway, moving right along. So I thought it was really odd that these guys, have migrated to Mexico. But then when you look at their legal situation and what's going on, it seems like these guys are kind of fugitives now. Now, Carl, Carl says that he's going to run him through Pacer. And so in the next week or so, Carl will be back on the show again. And by the way, his background is, I know what that noise is. Thank you for letting me know. We'll move that right over here. Hopefully that fixed that noise right up. Hopefully that did. Yeah, it does. It's my cooling fans. I apologize, you guys. Anyway, where was I? Anyway, Carl's gonna do a check through NCIC, and he's also gonna run a check through Pacer to see if they have any pending, if any of these guys have anything pending through there, and we'll be reporting back to you. I'll let you guys know. All right, man. Hey, welcome to the call, everybody. Welcome, everybody, over here. Welcome on YouTube, everybody. Man, I'm glad you guys are here. Now, the topic of this whole discussion was actually negotiable instruments, litigation, etc. I mean, that's a lot of ground to cover. But again, they had 3 hours, so I guess they solved the whole world's problems in 3 hours. I find that hard to believe. I think what people are not understanding when it comes to negotiable instruments is vehicle. I spent 23 years in the car business, and I knew Patrick Devine personally. I knew Patrick Devine. Sorry, dude. I was reading some of these messages. No, man. I've got nobody on the call with me tonight. If you guys want to do something like that, that's something we gotta do. We gotta do an appointment for, because otherwise you could totally crash and burn the whole call. We don't want that. We gotta vet people. Not everybody has the best intentions in the world, unfortunately, and I do apologize. Apparently, I have a big fan base. But anyway, getting back to all this. The problem that people have with negotiable instruments, the problem that people are really having is really, Natasha, it's vehicle. They're not understanding where they're supposed to be and what vehicle they're supposed to take to get there. When I knew Patrick Devine, he told me how to go down and buy a car with his buy the car process too, and he had one, just like everybody does. Like every 5 years, somebody comes up with a free car process. And they get everybody all stirred up, and they start sending everybody around in circles, and then here we are. By the way, I hope this fixed the wind noise. If you guys hear any more wind noise, let me know, and I'll move some stuff around. Hopefully we'll get this thing right. I appreciate you guys being here tonight. Thank you for all the input. Definitely appreciate you. Thank you, brother. Thank you for your understanding and your patience, too, by the way. So when I say the right vehicle, it's this. I think where people are really failing in this process is I think where people are really failing in this process is that they get dressed up and they get ready to go somewhere and they just can't get there. Natasha, when I knew Patrick Devine and he told me how to do the free car process, and I'm going to tell you what he told me. I'll tell you exactly what he told me to do. And what he told me to do was, first and foremost, it was almost like he was intentionally, when you listen to the stuff that he asked me to do, and I'm going to tell you the stuff was not easy to do. It's almost like he knew that this wouldn't work. So he would put roadblocks in the way to keep you busy and to keep you moving around, but not really successful or not really solving anything. But the problem was, because I had so many years in the car business and I knew so many people, the first thing that he told me I needed to do was get a contract out of the finance office. And that's really hard to do. And the reason why is because every one of those contracts are numbered, and they have a bond number at the bottom. And you have to be accountable for every one of those. So nobody's just going to let you just walk out the door with one of those unless you know somebody. So I just happened to know somebody, and I did it. I called my bank. Okay, thank you. I called my bank. I told them what I was going to do, that I was coming down for a special deposit, and I was going to deposit this note. Okay? So I take it down there, and I take a one pay, which is what he tells me to do. I take it down to the bank. Man, they know I'm coming. They open up the front doors like, da-da-da, here he comes, right? Like I'm going to give it to him or something. I mean, I'm serious. They were very excited to see me, like more excited than normal, but they were very excited. I sat down with a personal banker. Oh, what are you guys going to get? Well, we're going to get this and this and this. Oh, that sounds great. And I'm like, holy cow. And in the back of my head, I'm thinking, hey, man, the guy's what he told me is right. It's working. And then all of a sudden, when I'm going to mute you down here, brother, by the way. Sorry, man. All of it, now you can make all the noise you want to. It's all good. So I'm thinking this stuff's going to work, right? And everything is like going just like he said it would. But because I overcame the biggest thing, and that was getting the contracts out of, getting them out of the finance office. That's impossible to do. So once that was done, I felt like, holy cow, man, this is the lick. They're going to give this. And the plan is that they were going to monetize the contract, run it through the TT&L window, put the funds in a cashier's check, and let me go and satisfy the debt on the car. So the whole plan was just to monetize the drive out, basically. And wow, this is like detailed stuff. Anyway, so as soon as they punched in my driver's license and saw who I was, the momentum went from here to down to here to like a complete stop, Natasha. And why? I mean, what happened? And I even asked the banker, like, what's the deal? What happened here? Did I do something wrong? And I said, well, can't you just monetize the note and just transfer the funds? I mean, that's what he told me we could do. Can we just do that? And he looks at me and he goes, there's no benefit for the bank to do this for you. So yes, it can be done, but there's no benefit to the bank to do it, for them to do it for you. And why is that? What he's really saying, Natasha, is this. You don't have the right vehicle. Now, Natasha, you just bought a new vehicle, right? You bought like you got a big F-250, right?
I did.
You did, right? Now, if you got an F1.5 and tried to go do the work that the F-250 does, you would know very quickly that number one, you have the wrong vehicle. And number two, it's still an F1.5, right?
Correct.
Correct. So it would be futile for you to go put that F1.5 to work, even though knowing what it is, right? And this is exactly what the banker was telling me. They were telling me the very same thing. They were telling me that Mr. Dameron, you don't have the right vehicle to do this. You're just this guy. And I said, whoa. And what I found out is that, yeah, all that stuff that you guys have heard about your bank accounts. Welcome to the call, everybody. All that stuff that you've heard about fractional lending. You know, when you deposit $1, they loan out $10 of it, all that. That's true. That's all absolutely correct. But how do you make fractional banking work for you? That's what I wanted to know. I can see that it's working great for these turkeys, but how do I make this work for me? Because let me tell you something about handlebars. When you see handlebars in a transaction, there's always handlebars on the other side to push back the other way. Okay? So if something breaches or something like that in the contract, there's something to recover that loss. There's something to provide remedy. So this is why we do this. Does that make sense? It's interesting, right?
It is. Yeah, but you still got me hanging on is how do I get my piece of the pie with the fractional lending?
Exactly. And I mean, and
so
I
that's
mean,
where I'm thinking about it.
yeah, right. And she's like, yeah, tell me now, Tim. I already told you how, but I'm going to tell you how again. And you know what? I'm going to tell everybody else how too. It's basically just like this. You have to remember that your taxpayer ID is not an EIN. I don't care if you if you move the dashes around or what you do. If you turn it doesn't matter. Okay, it's a tax ID number. Okay, and it only discharges debt. Okay, it's not a creditor. Did you hear me, everybody? It's not a creditor because typically it's not a creditor. If you had a personal injury lawsuit or something like that, then you might have a creditor-debtor situation. But typically speaking, it really can't be a creditor because it doesn't have any ability to loan. Did you hear what I said? It doesn't have the ability to loan. And because it doesn't have the ability to loan, it only can hold property. That's it. You ever notice that? We don't own our homes, Natasha, do we? The county does. You're just the landlord. You're the one that cuts the grass. And if something breaks, who do you call, Natasha? Not Ghostbusters. Right? You got to call a contractor. You got to call a plumber. You got to call somebody. And what is the city doing? Waiting for their tax money every year. And what that tax money really is just rent money. It's performance. Okay? Now, is there a way out of all this? Is there a way to move around and to do this? Yes. But you have to understand that while you're in your person, you have so many limits. Some people call it slavery, Natasha. Some people call it living in slavery. And it could be. You know, when knowledge is on the top shelf, you could feel pretty restricted. I would think. You know, so I have a class coming up on the 3rd and the 4th. And this is about operating in that commerce. If you want all the benefits, and I'm talking about the tax benefits too. Those of you guys that just found out that you're doing your boss's taxes, yeah, that you're doing your company's taxes every year. Those of you guys that just found all that stuff out, your remedy is this. Learn to move in commerce. Why? So you can go do the same thing. This is when you can use these negotiable instruments up here, okay? When you have the right vehicle. and for some people, when you're in the right country too. I know they have some IMF banks in Mexico, but they're very limited, and they're not going to let you move large quantities of cash without alerting the IRS first. I'm going to tell you that now. President Trump has got Mexico so scared, and their government so scared right now, I don't even know what's going to happen over there. It's going to go weird. So I don't know. And then I've also heard, Natasha, that they're not letting American nationals stay in Mexico, that they're voiding their visas and sending them back. So, oops.
Wow.
So that's kind of
where to go.
Well, that's their response to the tariff thing that, you know, that President Trump is talking about imposing. So that's kind of their response to it. Okay, we're kicking the Americans out of here. They're living over here cheap and commuting back to the United States and living there, and it is happening. And they're like, okay, no, we're turning that valve off. Sammy Hagar is going to have to find a new bar. I don't know, something. But you know, he owns a bar in Mexico, by the way. I think he's got a club out there that he owns. It's some kind of a metal club. But anyway. So this class that I have coming up is really about setting up that foundation, Natasha. This is about setting yourself up so that you're not in such a libelous situation. You know, when people say, you know, don't go into business as a sole proprietor. And then you always go, why? Because I did. And the reason why is because then all of your stuff is liable. They can come after your stuff. Well, guess what? They can come after your stuff while it's just sitting there. They don't need a reason. They don't need to come after your stuff because you went into business for yourself. They can come after your stuff anyway. And it happens all the time. There are agencies here in Texas that are constantly going through going through the tax logs, looking for people that haven't paid their taxes, and then they go pay their taxes, and then they foreclose on them and take their houses from them. Oh yeah, or they sell them their homes back to them. Oh, that happens too. This happens. Everybody's not on the up and up. You do hear some white noise, wind noise. Sorry about that. Let's move you on over here then. Hopefully that will fix the wind noise, everybody. I hope that's gotten better. I apologize. I gotta get some better stuff here. But anyway, we're working on that. We're definitely working on that. Anyway, this class tomorrow, it's going to be tomorrow night from 6 to 9 p.m. Central Time. And we're going to be setting up the foundation so that you can operate in commerce, so that you can start reaping these tax benefits. You know, you want to see $28,000, $20,000, $29,000, $50,000 tax returns. This is how you're going to see them without getting audited. You've got to have the platform. So what I found out about Patrick Devine when he told me about these processes, Natasha, is that he didn't really do this thing himself. He went on some information that somebody else told them, because when I went through there, I had a completely different story. Well, not a completely different story, but a much more detailed story. And I think this is what we're seeing a lot out there right now with a lot of these teachers like Brandon Joe Williams, like, you know, the State Nationals rock movement. You know, these guys, they're not coming to the table with any real fruits. They're just figuring it out. You know, one of the things that really dissatisfies me about Brandon Joe Williams is the fact that, you know, he claims that he has a law firm, but then he's not a lawyer. He claims he's in all these cases, but he's really not. He sent me a whole bunch of cases, and I went in and I looked up those cases. I didn't see his law firm. I didn't see any of that stuff, Natasha. I mean, and I'm not saying the guy's a liar, but I'm saying that he's definitely misrepresenting himself and he's not being transparent. Because if I've got to dig around and dig through a bunch of excuses to justify this story of just a simple fact that I'm a lawyer and I fight cases, he's probably not fighting too many cases. I'm just saying.
No, it's starting to remind me of Crooked Dave. You know how he... I mean... The shoe fits.
I'm saying, I mean, like a custom orthotic shoe. I'm telling you, man. Like, oh, if we knew your arches were high, here you go. Oh my goodness. Well, hey, and if any of you guys out in TikTok land have any questions or comments, man, hit me up, man. I'd be glad to help you. Be glad to answer those questions. So, this class that I have coming up tomorrow, it'll be Wednesday and Thursday, and it is filling up. I've got like 3 seats left. We don't have a lot of seating left. We had a good amount of folks that signed up for it last week, and they're getting rolled in right now. So we do have a couple of seats left. If you're not able to get an interview with me on the webpage, just go ahead and call my office tomorrow between 9 and 5 p.m. Central Time. Just go to our website, houseofyahcommunityoutreach.com. Those of you guys on TikTok, just go in and check my page and you'll see it. houseofyahcommunityoutreach.com is all over the place. It's on all my stuff. So you'll see it everywhere. And schedule an interview with me. Okay. The point in doing all this stuff is so, yes, we can operate in commerce, but here's the other part too. This is protecting your property. See, when you don't hold your property, nobody can take it from you. I don't care if you're getting divorced. I don't care what's going on. It doesn't matter. There's no court that can tell your trust what to do. So if your trust is holding everything and you have an agreement that says you are to fund that trust, then that's what you got to do. You got to fund that trust. And our job is to show you how to do it. And that's exactly what I do. So the first day we're going to be showing you or identifying the straw person, who the straw person is in that process, who the living person is in that process, and what the parties do and how they intermingle. I mean, this is the hardest part, I think, Natasha, about this, is that we just intermingle so much public and private stuff together. You know what I mean? Like your Verizon bill, but then you're at the babysitter. You know? And then we try to squeeze some prayer time in between there and there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, my hardest thing was learning the living person versus the straw person, where your straw person can only do commerce. So, and then your living person is actually meant to, like you said, be in the private, and, and that way, whenever you clock out 9 to 5, you don't have to worry about that because all your business is done in your commercial capacity.
Correct.
So that was actually, not hard to learn, but it was habit wise, I guess would be the best. Because like you said, you got
it's like a routine.
Bill, you got it, huh?
It's like a routine,
It is, and then that's like what my daughter today. I started telling her, "Let's get all your bills together. We need to start consolidating and
Good for
doing
you.
this and that." And I'm like, okay, well, we have Netflix, we have Hulu, we have this, we have that, and you're doing all this in commerce, but yet in your private, but you are not getting the best tax benefits for what you're doing.
Well, you're not able to assess it in that capacity. It's like having a hole in your wallet.
And yes, and that's what she's like, I'm having a hard time paying my bills and this and another. I said, well, let's fix it, and let's start assessing everything. Where can we start saving money, and stuff like that.
Exactly.
So,
exactly. Well, and this plan that's exactly how it kind of works out. It's like, that's exactly what we set up. But that's what we teach in the workshop. So I'm glad you've got it. Lots of other students have done really well with it too. I've been doing it since 2016 myself. And if you want to see those $25,000, $28,000 tax returns, this is how they're done. Like Natasha bought a new truck this year, as we all know. Well, she's bought it right at the end of the year, so she'll be able to discharge this truck without this sticky jicky stuff that's going on up here in State Nationals Rockland over in Disneyland. No. We're not going to join the band, man. We're going to go over here. We're going to do this stuff properly, and we're going to do it privately. So she'll be able to do that this year. Why? Because she has the platform. Not because she has a 1099A. I promise you that. It's so much more than a 1099A, isn't it, Natasha?
It is. Yeah, and I think basically for me, whenever I first started with everything was, you had Cricket Dave, you had Kenny, you had all of them, and they were always talking about the 1099, and it was like they were trying to bypass everything as far as, go fill out your application or get outside financing, go talk to the dealership, because there's a whole process, and like you say, with the TTNL window and the notes and the security agreement, there has to be that. There's no way to get around it. And once people start understanding that, but once you actually do it, then it puts you in the position in the right vehicle to get your money back, or a portion of it. Mm-hmm. So that's what a lot of people. And don't get me wrong, I wish I could just walk in there with a 1099A and say, "Hey, I want this vehicle for $60,000," and boom, it's mine, and I don't have to pay notes. I don't have to do paperwork. I would love that, but unfortunately, it's not how it really works.
And it's not that easy. And you know what that tells me? After we know now that we know the process, we've done this, you've done this. I mean, you're doing this right now, and we know this process. Okay, when you look back on that stuff, you know what it tells me? It tells me that the person was a spectator. This was somebody that hung out on a call somewhere, listened to us talk about it, and said, "Oh, let's go sell that process. Come on, he told us how to do it. Let's go." You know what I mean? I feel like that's what happened, right?
Yeah. And, because some of the stuff on like my TikTok, my Facebook, how you have your AI generated, and because I'll listen to other people, because I want to know if there's new processes and learn, and all that, and also see and try to help other people, not fall in the same category and all that, like, hey, you might want to be careful about that. You might end up in jail, kind of thing.
Right.
Right. It's just, with that, they still come up, and I still have, a lot of questions as far as, like you talking about, they're wanting to sell classes, but they don't show proof. And I think a lot of people are starting to ask for that proof, before they're doing the processes. So I am grateful for that,
Me too.
So, like, did you really go get a vehicle with a 1099? Did you really do this? So I think a lot of people are starting to come around to some of the stuff of being just nonsense. you know.
Well,
And
it is. I mean, it just is. I mean, it's designed to get your attention and to occupy you and to, raise your, I don't know. I would say it's more, I think that their intent is really more to confuse people. Sorry about that, everybody. I'm just adjusting here. I think their intent is really more to confuse people and to keep people busy doing things, but not accomplishing anything. I think that's the real intent, if you really want to know my personal opinion. Hopefully that worked. Okay, there we go.
yeah, and then some of them like you say, get a little bit of information or literally dangerous, as far as getting people in trouble and stuff like that.
Exactly.
And that's one thing I've always loved about your classes or questions and stuff. You're all
Uh-oh. We got a little bit, we lost you there for just a second, so apologize for that. She'll be coming back on in just a minute. Hold on just a second. Uh-oh. All right. Yeah, we've got I apologize. We have some networking issues right now. We're getting back on. Give me just a second. Let's see. Sorry about that, everybody. Welcome to the call. Those of you guys that came on, we had a little bit of trouble. I'd lost Natasha. Holy cow, I don't even know how that happened. It's never happened before. That's weird. Anyway, yeah, what she was saying is that, basically my processes are going to allow you to stay in honor. At no point is anybody ever going to look at you in my processes or doing what I'm telling you to do or doing what I've done and say, you might be doing something illegal. Everything is above board. Everything is legal. And how did I learn all this stuff? I learned it by, hold on a second. I can't do two things at one time. There we go. Hold on. I'm coming in right now, everybody. I learned it.
This call may be recorded or transcribed.
There we go. All right, I'm back. Not like MC Hammer either, because he's out. No, but anyway, I was telling everybody that, I was finishing your sentence because I know that what you were saying is that, one of the things that is common practice with my processes is I'm not going to ever ask you to do anything that's dishonorable. That'll never happen. I'm never going to ask you to do something that would be shady where somebody's going to look at you and say, hey, you're not paying your bills, or hey, you're not doing this, or you're not doing that. Everything's going to be above board, right? That's kind of what you were saying, right?
It is. And you're also one of the teachers that, you just don't, teach a class and then here's the information and you leave us high and dry. I've probably had 2 or 3 extra meetings with you on the side about dealing with the house or,
yeah.
Hey, I got a question about this, so you're one of those great teachers that are there for your students. So, and that's one thing I've always really enjoyed.
Well, we're interested in having a family, Natasha. We're interested in, I'm not interested in bashing anybody, but what I am interested in is in the truth. And when people aren't telling the truth, Ephesians 5:11 says we're supposed to call those people out. That's what we're supposed to do. If you're quiet and you let somebody do something deceitful to somebody else, you're just as guilty as the person that's doing the deceiving because you're right there with them. You have an opportunity to correct it and you don't. We certainly expect our public officials to correct each other, although they never do. But we expect it. We'd like them to, but they never do. But that's what we expect them to do. So I hope everybody's made it back on the call okay. Sorry about the interruption. But Natasha, I the reason that I learned this process is because, I don't know what it was. I don't know why I was getting profiled all the time, but man, I would get pulled over like Cheech and Chong. I don't know if there was some bell hanging over my head saying, hey, pull that guy over. Maybe there was. They certainly had the ability to put stuff on your driver's license if they run your tags and stuff comes up on you. Okay, they're going to say stuff about you, and that does come up. So maybe there was some prejudice there. I had a friend of mine that was, a felon. He was a convicted felon, but he'd been a felon he'd been out and discharged for 30 years or longer. I mean, it'd been a long time, and it was for something pretty petty. It wasn't like murder, child stuff, or anything like that, So, and I thought that was pretty unfair that they keep seeing this guy and pulling him over and trying to trip this guy up. And there's a lot of you guys that have that scenario. There's a lot of you guys that are high vibrational people, and that's why this stuff really happens. That's why they're really pulling you over. That's why they're giving you a hard time. What's that? What's that? I don't know who said that. All right, I'm going to mute that caller. Good enough. Anyway, also, I just want, in this class, I noticed that after I did this, and after I started operating in trust, Natasha, I didn't get pulled over anymore. I noticed that my straw man was out of the public. I noticed that I was off limits to all these agencies, but it wasn't like in a bad way, like we were talking about with Kenny Plaster, where he's like on a government watch list. It's like nothing like that. It's just, no. And what we're going to talk about in this class is how do they take people out of the private? How do people go from the public to the private? How many people get pulled from the public to the private? Natasha. And what I started noticing was, well, look at who gets called for jury duty. You ever notice that you rarely ever see handicapped people doing jury duty unless it's a small town? You ever notice that? You never see that. And you know why? Because those people are under a doctor's care. So if you are under a doctor's care, more than likely, you're not going to get called for jury duty, especially if you're handicapped in any way. Because if they think that you're physically handicapped, they view you as mentally handicapped. Isn't that crappy? They really do. That's why it's that way. But hey, don't get upset. We use that to our advantage, you see. Now that we know that's a door that moves people from the public to the private, that means that they don't get called in for jury duty, they get left alone, then we know that this is a viable door for us to go into as well. I'm going to take you through that door. I'm going to show you what I did, and that's exactly what I did. And you know what happened? Everything stopped. As soon as I did all this stuff for travel, Natasha, and because first I did UCC in my trust. I set up that stuff. And then I did my travel paperwork. And then as soon as I did that, I never got stopped again. Well, until Houston County. But, that's just because they didn't like me very much, personally. But that's okay. They don't have jobs anymore. I don't care. What I'm saying is that, this gives you an opportunity to operate. You ever notice that the cops will never bother you while you're at work? You know what I mean? You ever watch cops on TV? Do you ever see them going to somebody's work and arresting them in the middle of the day? They're there and they're working. Oh, that's it. Let's go get them now. They might if it's something really serious like forgery or if they stole something at work or something like that. I get that. But I'm just saying, do they really go down on a warrant fest to go get people at work? No. They don't do it.
No, it's usually your house or on the side of the road or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Where you're publicly accessible. And why? Because when you're working, you're in a contract. And they're not supposed to interfere in a private contract. That's called public interference in a private contract for all you litigation people out there. Yeah, and you can't do that. And this is why they don't do it. Okay? Because they know they're not supposed to do it. If they have probable cause and if you're Tim Dameron, you could throw all that stuff out the window because they're going to go do whatever they want to. Because for me, they'll just make it up. There'll be no probable cause. No problem. They'll go down to H-E-B and get some over there with the French fries and everything. There'll be some probable cause with the tater tots and biscuits and gravy. They'll be good to go. Be back at the station in no time. Get his butt. Anyway, but I'm just saying, this is how this stuff fans out. So here's another thing that happens too, Natasha. The courts don't like you very much after you do this process. Did you know why they don't like you, Natasha? Because remember I told you that our whole system, because we don't have any gold and silver, it's all based on equity. It's all based on performance. Money is made out of thin air, remember? But it's made out of thin air based on your performance. And what happens is that your equity, your labor, your performance is monetized within a security agreement, and then they create funds out of that. This is how our money system works. Okay? We don't go to this bucket and go to this bucket. I mean, I know it feels like that for us because that's how they delegate it to us. But once you start opening your mind and you start understanding this bigger game, you start seeing things differently. And you start operating differently. And you stop operating from the bucket method. And you start operating from a method that basically is going to benefit your financial situation first. And then the parties and all the stuff that used to matter is going to be secondary compared to what we're used to seeing, basically, is what I'm saying. So this puts you in the driver's seat. What happens a lot of times is that we're kind of like, we go through life like somebody going to Sonic. You know, we're in our vehicle, and we pull up, and we order a cherry limeade. We push the button, we give a ta-ta-ta, and then somebody comes wheeling out on some roller skates, and hopefully they don't fall, because that's always bad, because then they have to go back in and make your stuff, and it takes longer. Oh, it's terrible. But anyway, so hopefully the stuff comes out, you get to eat your food, and everybody leaves, and that's that. This is how they treat us. When you start looking at from the top and you start seeing the whole big game here and all the pieces in the game board, because I'm going to show them to you, then you can kind of slow down a little bit. Everything's not, oh my God, anymore. Everything's relax. Wait until it happens, then move forward. Right, Natasha? That's like every time she calls me, you call me about something, it's like, okay, it's okay. This is going to happen. And then this is going to happen. And then this is going to happen. And you're like, okay, so I just do this. And I was like, yeah, that's all you need to do. And then this and this and this will happen as a result of that. Huh.
And it just all falls in place.
It's gray hair. I'm telling you, it's gray hair. This is what happens. You get gray hair. This is what happens. You start being able to call the shots like this, you know. This is why you don't see young dudes out in the streets being called shot callers too much. Usually it's the old guys that do it. It's because they see and they know to wait and they know when to wait. This process, I'm going to teach you this process on how to make this stuff work. And then the bigger picture is this. The reason that we go to work. What is the reason we go to work, Natasha? Why do we do this? Why do we even do this in the morning anyway? Why don't we just go to the beach and just put some flip-flops on and just hang out and get sunburned all day? And eat coconuts. Come on now. Why don't we just do that, Natasha?
Because I still want to work for my beneficiaries.
That's right. Those are your kiddos. Those are the people that matter. Those are the important people in your life. Sometimes we're so busy just trying to keep the lights on. We have no time in our lives to think about the beneficiaries. And then we get stuck doing that same thing year after year after year after year. And then before you know it, you're 65 years old and you've saved nothing. This is happening all over America. If you don't have a plan on failing. I say this. I say this with, my kids, I tell my kids the same thing, you know. Make a plan before you leave. Before you jump in the car with Crooked David, make sure this guy knows what he's talking about. Because what you're going to find out, if you just slow down a little bit, Hot Rod, you're going to find out he doesn't know what he's talking about. You're going to find out that he's going to talk about this, and then 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 this, and then. And he's all over the place like this. And before you know it, you're overwhelmed, and you think this guy's so smart. But really what he's done is he's just hypnotized you for a half an hour. He hasn't taught you a stinking thing. This class, completely different. We're going to show you how to build this thing. We're going to show you how to separate yourselves. And then we're going to show you on the second day, how do you operate in commerce? What part of you operates in commerce? What part of you operates for your family, Natasha? We're going to be talking about the difference between those two vehicles. You're still going to have your old vehicle. You're still going to have the social, but we're going to use it. Remember I said about those handlebars? When you see the handlebars going this way, remember they always go the other way too. And we have that opportunity, so we can steer this thing too, man. You just need the right vehicle. And I mean, what the second day? What are we doing on the second day, Natasha? What do you think the highlights for the second day? What do you think the best parts of the second day class are? I guess that's a better question.
Well, for me is you actually just more or less teaching us of how to kind of run our trust law a little bit. As far as do this, because you have your 1099s, because they have to be, $5,000 or more. A little bit of a, secret there. But, you tell us, do this, this, and that. And you also let us know, how to manage it, to keep it like a little petty cash, what goes in must come out, everything has to be accounted for, it's very interesting. And not only that, though, but you also teach us, how to fund the trust,
That's right.
With your quick claim deeds, and, all of that. Those, so you've taken the first day and you've set everything up. You have the understanding of your trust/vehicle, how to operate it, set it up and this, that, and the other. But you also take it step by step, do your EIN number, how to fund the trust, So now that you have this, you're teaching us how to actually operate it and use it to the best of your abilities and, for your benefit.
Well, and that's so you can get there. Yeah, exactly. So that we can get to these places, so that we can discharge our debt. Because we got HCR 192, 1933, and it just matters. But we got to get the road to get there. And I think that's what's missing, right? Everybody?
Exactly. And that's our, and and then whenever, you get your foundation set up, like you were stating a while ago, you got travel and drive, and one of my favorites is debt and foreclosure. So now that we're in the private, I don't want to get pulled back into the public with presentments and things like that, so that's an important class there too to take.
Exactly.
And then of course how to discharge and stuff. And the firm mailing book is very key and, on how to keep your records, as far as that.
Well, but and I forgot, I changed this special on this thing because I said that anybody that signs up before December 1st, they get to take the firm mailing book class. You know what? Anybody that starts and signs up for this UCC and trust class, the firm mailing book class is for free. You know what? It's on me. All of you guys, any of you guys want to sign up, call my office tomorrow. If you can't get an appointment, it's 210-604-0144, I believe. I don't know. You better check me on
210-605-0144.
See, that was close. 605-0144. I never call my office. So 210-605-0144. Call my office tomorrow between normal business hours. Don't call late tonight because nobody will answer the phone. It will not happen. There's nobody there at the office. So unfortunately, I'm going to be at a funeral tomorrow morning. So in Dallas. So I'll be up in Dallas tomorrow morning for a funeral. But I still will take calls, as many as I can take. Anybody that wants to take a call. We have 3 seats. So the first, out of all the calls, the first 3 people that decide they want to take the class and go forward, which I'm sure they will, then number one, you guys are all free. You're free for the firm mailing book class. And that is going to be, what date is that again? What date is the firm mailing class? Do you remember? I believe it's the 23rd. Yeah, it's the 23rd of December. So we have travel and driving on the 10th and the 11th, debt and foreclosure on the 17th and 18th. And, here's another thing we're going to talk about in the debt and foreclosure class is how to place things for deposits. So this right here, negotiable instruments and things like that, this stuff that they're talking about up here, those of you guys in TikTok land, you see what I'm talking about. This right here, if you have the right vehicle, you can do it. You don't have to sit around and cuss each other out and talk about it like these guys are doing for 3 hours. We're going to spend 6 hours, build your trust, get everything done. You'll have something to show for all this stuff. And then we can go forward. Now you can start placing things for deposit. Now you can start really, truly, honestly funding this trust. We're going to talk about the securities game. We're going to talk about how that works. Securitizing contracts, getting the notes back from your lenders, all of this back end stuff. See, this is the stuff we're not seeing. But here's the problem. We don't have the right, by the time we do see it, we figure out we don't have the right credentials to get to it. You know, if you were just a little taller, or like that Geico commercial with the old man with the dollar bill, and he's doing this. You know, I don't know who that was calling. It was somebody from Arlington, so I guess we lost them. I'm not sure who that was. But anyway, I'll be happy to take any questions from TikTok. You guys have any questions about UCC and trust? I posted another video today about the SESA Trust. They had a whole workbook and everything, and it looked all official. Did you see that? But it didn't name anybody in particular. Fugazo. Yeah. That's Italian for that is fake as you don't know what. Did you see that on TikTok?
Yeah. Yeah, I seen that. I was like, But, you know, that kind of goes back to some of the other things that you see on there. I mean, I would love to be able to get into it. I mean, who wouldn't want to build a new house or this or that or the other and say, hey, I'm a trust fund baby. I need this, you know?
Right.
But it doesn't work that way. No. But the great thing is you teach us how to get in front of it and use it, you know? So,
that's right. Well, and I mean, you leverage it. Okay, you're not going to be able to liquidate this trust. That's never going to happen. But here's what you can do. Well, you pay attention and you see what everybody else is doing. What everybody else is doing is that they're leveraging it. They're leveraging this trust to do other things like court cases and sentences. And hold on a second, we're having a little trouble reconnecting. There we go. We're back on. They're using the SESA Trust and they're leveraging it. Okay, they're not emptying the trust by any means. That's not happening. Nobody's emptying that trust. That trust has the unlimited ability to discharge anything. But it's got to be legit and it's got to fit in the window. And when I say fit in the window, it's got to fit the criteria to fit in the window. And that's what people aren't understanding, Natasha. They're just not getting it. You know, but this class will help you understand that. I think it was a good foundational class. What else were you missing in that class? Anything else? I don't think anything else. I think we covered pretty much most of it tonight. I'm having some, we have a storm coming in over here, so I know that I'm having some bandwidth issues. Oh man, I'm probably going to get kicked out of here again. Give me just a minute, you guys. We get kicked out of here. We did. So we're going to jump back in again. Ooh, tough ride tonight, man. You know, and it's just what Satan does. It's just what he does. I do not understand it. Oh, no. No. Hold on 2 seconds, everybody. I apologize. Apologize. Let's see. But anyways, those are going to be some of the things that we're going to cover. We're going to cover in this class. This is a foundational class, okay? This is, when these guys are talking about correcting your status, there's nothing wrong with your status other than you have a very limited capacity, okay? That's about the only thing that's really wrong with our status. And so we fix it, you know? Hold on 2 seconds. Join your meeting. Yeah, there we go. All right. Hopefully we get back in here. I apologize, everybody. All right. Should be back in just a second. Thank you guys for everybody for being patient. I appreciate it.
Transcribed.
That's what's up. Thank you for being patient, everybody. We're coming back into the call now. So sorry about that. I get kicked out of my own call like 3 times today. I'd almost take it personal, but I know Natasha is too sweet. She'd never do that to me. Anyway, I want to thank all of you guys for being here on the call. We're kind of reaching towards the end of this deal anyway, and I think we've had a lot of interruptions. But, if you guys are interested in signing up for this class, schedule an interview with me, okay? I will have some time tomorrow after 11 a.m. That's when the funeral starts, is after 11. So if I don't answer, it's probably because I'm in the middle of the funeral. So just know that I see it. I'll call you back, and I'll try to get and talk with you guys. Those of you guys that have signed up for the class, documents are going to go out tomorrow about 4 o'clock. And if you don't have your documents by 5 p.m., call the office directly before class so that I can make sure you guys get your documents and we don't have any loose ends before class. We can just go, hit the ground running and go from there. Did you have anything you wanted to add, Natasha?
No, I just hope that if it resonates with you, to go ahead and do it. That I really like this. It's really taught me a lot of business savvy as well. Going from the public to the private.
Sure.
It's actually made me better money management. What am I spending my money on? It's really great. And not only that though, so for an example, me and my husband want to build a house, and what we've roundabout numbers. So if we want to build a house for $180,000, and by the time we, do everything, your process and all that, and discharge everything, it's possible we could build our house for $60,000. So that's good. So there's processes like that. Learning how to be better managing my money.
And watching for opportunities. And I think watching for opportunities is the big one.
Yeah, and it is, and not only that though, it's just in teaching my daughter once I finish, finalizing everything, because I got my taxes coming up, and and once this is my last step in saying, okay, so this and this is how I do it, and this is what I bring to my CPA, and boom, it's done, everything's done, and then it starts over with the new year. I want to get her in the same thing. That way she can teach her babies how to do it and set everything up for her beneficiaries, because they're young. And then, like you said, we got to have a plan. And
exactly.
This is a great plan, So, and that's pretty much about it. And I just hope that if Yahweh's speaking to your heart, just give Tim a call.
Yeah.
Or sign up.
He'd be smart too. Another benefit of this too is that those of you guys that want to keep the state out of your business and stuff like that, if you happen to pass away, if your stuff's in trust, there's no probate. That means everybody takes over. The people that you've appointed to step into that position are able to step into that position. And, I know deaths are a little bit touchy subject with both you and I dealing with these things tomorrow and then you today. Oh my goodness. But anyway, let me tell you, man, when people die, you see the absolute worst in people. And you see the absolute best in people, and you see the absolute worst in people. I'll say that. I think that's fair. I think because I know you're not going to see the worst in me when people are dead. But dealing with that. But I know that other family members don't typically handle it very well. And what happens is that every little thing becomes an issue. Okay. You're planning for stuff. Moving, my girlfriend's mother passed away not that long ago, and, or a few months ago. And, she just happened to just now get rid of some of her clothes. It's just taken her that long to do that because she just wasn't ready to do it. And it takes time. So having the money part of this stuff situated, property situated, having that part just asked and answered, it's already divided, then all you have to deal with is pretty much emotions, and those are enough. Okay. But the problem is when we have real estate and you have private property, you have heirlooms and things like that are involved, and it gets really messy when they're not pre-designated. It gets really messy when people are fighting over those things, when they're fighting over those kinds of items, and when really they might be fighting over it just because they're hurting, So I invite you guys, get on this train, make a plan. Okay. Nobody sent us to school, told us how to do any of this stuff, Natasha. They didn't teach us how to do any of this stuff. So tonight or tomorrow night and the other night and the night after that, I'm going to be teaching how I've done it and how I've been doing it personally. All of my students have been doing it for quite some time, like Natasha and thousands of other people, literally over the last 8.5 years. I have probably taught over 7,000 people in the last 8 years. And that's a rough estimate, but I would say over 7,000 people have gone through my classes in the last 8 years or more. And there's, no bad press. Nobody's saying, oh, he told us terrible things to do. As a matter of fact, most people are copying just about everything that I put out there. Like the USF guy, whatever's USFL, whatever that guy's name is. I just had one of his students call me up yesterday and tell me and ask me to, she's in the middle of, they're trying to foreclose on her house now. And she's trying to hurry up and get her property in trust and get everything done and this and that. But the problem is when you're dealing with somebody that hasn't done this process, Natasha, they can only take you so far. So what did she do? She picked up the phone and she called me and set an appointment with me. It's cool, man. We're glad to help. And I'm happy to help her too.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, all right. Well, we'll see you guys next week. If you guys have questions, comments, set an appointment with me. I'd love to meet with you. If you've got stuff going on, I'd love to pray with you. I hope you guys have a great, great evening, and may Yahweh bless your homes. Thank you guys so much for being here.
Call recording off.
All right. Good night, everybody. We'll see you guys next week.
Good night.